Well, the GSD has completely missed the point. We are providing a fantastic school catering for twice the number of children that we have now in the centre of town, replacing a school that was really, I think, past its sell-by date without a major investment in it. And if I can just remind Roy, and in fact the leader of the opposition, who I believe at the time was Health Minister, they sold the current hospital, I think it was for about 54 million. The rent on that building is about £1.25 million a quarter, which is more than the school will cost per annum. £5 million a year. It's now cost around 84 million to rent St. Bernard's Hospital. So I think this is a great deal. I think that we are, because of this, able, despite the pandemic, to keep to our school building program. So I think it's just nonsensical, and I think actually irresponsible and disrespectful of the opposition to make these statements.
Well, the GSD envisages that the annual cost of the rental agreement could be £825,000 a year. What can you tell us about the terms of the agreement? How much will it cost, and how long will the period of that rental agreement be?
The figure is actually going to be a little bit more than that, because we have to take into account the external space. It's as I said, it's a big school in the centre of town, which is absolutely wonderful, and that is the main message, I think. But there's been no need for capital investment now, which is critical at this point where our economy is now, until we recover. The terms of the agreement include a buyback option, so when the economy is stabilised and thriving, as we are sure it will be as Gibraltar recovers from the pandemic, we will have the option of buying it back and then no longer having to pay the rent. So all these things have been foreseen, they've all been worked out. The decision was taken, we need to keep the schools going. We cannot have some children in better schools than others. We have a moral duty to the children of Gibraltar to give them all the same fantastic standards of school, and this was a way of achieving it, and I'll take any criticism on the chin because this was the right decision.
Inevitably, though, with long-term rental agreements, you end up spending far more.
Well, clearly it depends on how long we decide, or future governments decide, to keep the rental agreement, and it clearly depends on the economic situation at the time. So these are all clearly information that we have, but the decision will have to be taken at a later stage by a future government, who will be grateful of the fact that we've given them such a wonderful school, because the GSD keeps on criticising everything we do. If we build a school paid for by taxpayers, it's remember what they said about Bayside and Westside. It's the wrong place, both schools together. They're wonderful schools, they're thriving schools, and those criticisms have now been pushed to one side. They have a track record of criticising and then being shown up for what that criticism really was.
And in terms of capital outlay, one of the things Roy Clinton brings up is the fact that the government could be making a capital contribution at some stage. Is that envisaged?
No, the some stage is when, if the government decides to buy back, and that will be a capital contribution. So at this stage, there's none. At some stage, it might. But that's not a decision for today.
Well, among the beneficial owners of Town Range Developments Limited are partners at Hassan's law firm. Now, the Chief Minister is a partner there, although he's on sabbatical. The former Education Minister, Gilbert Licoudi, is now a backbencher MP on the government side. He's returned to that law firm. So when agreeing this contract, was there a conflict of interest that needed to be managed?
I have no conflict of interest whatsoever. I'm not involved in any of that. So I certainly had none, and I did most of the negotiations. And I can assure you that there has been no conflict of interest, because everybody involved is absolutely professional, and that would never happen.